Hello and welcome everybody to the pre-race show for the Australian Online Supercar Championship. All thanks to Jinx Shifters for the 2021 season number 10. Yes, we are in season number 10. You got a new broadcast team, of course, myself, Matty Kavanagh, joining the commentary crew, along with some familiar names and voices. And that's Daniel Leet and Matthew Norris. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, great, mate. Great to be back for season 10 and really looking forward to getting this one underway on Friday.
And also included in that, we do have Nick Hausler in the background. He's going to be taking over some of the directing. So he's been quite productive over the last couple of weeks, getting lots of live streams done. We've seen him there in the practice sessions as well. Norrie, he's been doing a fantastic job to start with.
Well, he's definitely put the effort in. There's no doubt about that. Unlike his safety car driving, he's actually put some focus into this. So it should go, all fingers crossed, really smoothly. And it's going to be a fantastic production to put together. So great effort by Nick to get this one going.
Yeah, big shout out, of course. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's AOSC TV. When you go to YouTube, that's AOSC TV. Of course, start time is 8:40 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time, which we get underway Friday night. And we couldn't do it without our sponsors, of course, fellas. And I would need a big shout out to our naming rights sponsor, Jinx Shifters, again, who have come on for season number 10. Check out these shirts. How good are these?
Yeah, great bit of kit. Just exactly the same as the hardware as well. They've done a fantastic job for all their gear.
Yeah, they got some quality products, of course, designed and manufactured in Australia. And check out the brake bias and roll bar adjusters that they're doing now on their websites. And, of course, you can buy the T-shirts and the stickers. The merchandise is there as well. Also, a shout out to simrigs.com, who have got on board again for Season 10. And, of course, don't forget, selected products will get you free entry into the AOSC Championship. Also, don't forget, they do sell the high-end pedals and direct drive wheels. Sydney Computers also, they do some great off-the-shelf packages if you want to get into iRacing. Also, build your custom computers. They are the experts when it comes to gaming computers at Sydney Computers. And once again, they have selected products that will get you free entry into season number 10 here at AOSC. AJ Insurance got back on board, professional insurance broker specialising in sourcing competitive and affordable insurance for businesses Australia-wide. So go check them out on their website. Race Circuit Art. We've seen some of the stuff they've done. They did some trophies for us last season. Whether you want artwork for the man cave, the office, or the bedroom, they can do your custom made. And all the racetracks that you see on their Facebook page are absolutely amazing at Race Circuit Art. But a new one for this year, really, which we haven't had on board before, is track cams for gourmets, who are going to give us some fantastic views of the track. And I know, Norrie, you're going to be using that as much as possible when you're doing your pit lane and from the crowd views and everything you're going to be reporting back to us throughout the series.
Absolutely. I'll be in pit lane. I'll be in the grandstand. I'll be at different corners around the circuit. The track cams have been fantastic to really get a different angle that you wouldn't normally see of our supercars racing around these AOSC calendars that we've got set up. So it's fantastic. It's going to look awesome, and I can't wait for everyone at home to see it.
Well, let's speaking of the calendar, let's have a look at what we've got coming up in season number 10. Dan, take it away, mate. 16 rounds. It's going to be unbelievable.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a build on what we saw from last season. Obviously, we had about the same number of races last time out. We're going back to a very similar format this time for season 10. So we've got 10 150k sprint rounds, 2 of the 300k single driver enduro events, and then 4 of the big 650k enduros team racing, which is going to be great to see. Unfortunately, we did see the shorter 50, 60 or 40, 60 sprint not be retained for this time, but I think it absolutely makes up for it in how the calendar is stacking up.
And of course, we've got some team changes there. Norrie, take us through some of those things that have happened in the off-season.
So there's some teams that have been sticking around, which is fantastic to see. So it's good to see teams returning like Altus, Synergy, Pursuit, all those ones that have been staples of this series. It's fantastic to have them kicking around and staying with us. But it's got some new ones coming on board. Team Hyperdrive. There was a couple of other teams that have announced their intention to run in the series. So it's fantastic to have all these teams coming on board. The main one, though, is the driver changing the safety car. That is not going to be Nick Hughes anymore. So he's given up the safety car because he was pretty average at it, and he's put someone behind the wheel who knows what they're doing. So
have we got the Stig? That's what we want to know. Is the Stig our safety car driver?
All the new teams, all the existing teams, have got a safety car they can actually follow and not run off circuit this year.
Oh, look, we love to give him a bit of stick, don't we, Nick? He's going to do a fantastic job in production behind the scenes, and we can't wait to see what he brings to the series in that respect. Uh, who else has come into the series this year and who's returning?
So some of the guys you want to watch is Jordan Ross, Adam Briggs, Tom Freer, Corey Shepherd, Michael Taliangic, Jamie Stovall, Jamie McKnight. There's so many. I've just got a list just rattling through my brain. It's like a Rolodex. You just got to find the ones that you know are quick. And they're all coming back. They're all going to be forceful, and they've all got fantastic teams around them that have really been building over the off season. So it's going to be awesome to watch all these teams fighting to try and knock James Scott off top spot.
Yeah, he was so dominant last season with those big amount of wins and, way out in front of the points. I know he had some challenges throughout season 9, but he's back. We caught up with him earlier this week to see exactly how he's come out of season number 9 and what he's expecting going into season number 10. Let's catch up with him now. Well, we're joined now by James Scott, who was obviously the season 8 and 9 winners of the AOSC Championship. James, great to have you here, mate. What are you looking forward to in season number 10 coming up?
Yeah, obviously season 8 and 9 went really well for both me and the team. Season 10 promises to be another step up in the challenge to try and go the three-peat.
The three-peat, and I know Norrie's got a heap of statistics right there. You're an amazing driver. Let's go through them, Norrie.
So total races, it's 58, wins 24, the most wins in a single season, which last season we saw 14 wins from 16 rounds. I know that's a sore spot. And only the third ever driver to win consecutive championships. So it's an impressive resume.
Does it make you feel a little bit older now? You've done that many races, 58?
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing stat. I didn't realize I'd done so many races. Yeah, geez, I have to think about hanging the helmet up soon, I think.
Almost retirement age.
You've only won 2. Come on.
Well, it's the three-peat we're looking for. So it could be the first ever person, but I mean, season 10's a big one. There's some new names coming through, some new challenges. Who do you think in the field out of the people you know have entered could be your biggest challenger?
Obviously, I'm not quite sure who's entered the series for season 10. We'll find out on Friday night. But from the last season, obviously all the SSR guys, they've really stepped up the game in the latter part of last season. And the DPR guys are always a great bunch to race against. And obviously Pursuit Sim Racing and Premier Racing Team as well will be some great competition. So we'll have to step our game up if we want to get a few more race wins.
Yeah, Premier Racing Team had quite a few names in the practice session last Friday night, so I think they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. Also, quite a few challenging tracks this season. What's going to be your favourite, do you think?
Well, I think I'm going to go the standard. I think Bathurst is really hard to go past. Obviously, coming off the win in season 9 there in the last round. It'll be looking to go back-to-back in that one. Sort of the biggest race of the season. Everyone looks forward to that one. So yeah, hopefully we can put on a good show there.
Are you looking forward to any of the endurance drivers coming up, or is it the solo drivers races that you really want to excel at?
For me personally, I really enjoy the endurance races. Obviously last year I was really blessed having such great co-drivers with Brady and Jordan stepping in the last round with really late notice. They faultless drives. They pretty much put through the whole season. So for me, endurance races are the best part with the strategy, but that doesn't discount the solo races. They're obviously really good fun too.
And now we have to ask, obviously, Jinx Shifter's been our major sponsor. You've received your prize from last year. What do you think of the Jinx Shifter? How good is it?
The Jinx Shifter is incredible. I've seen photos, obviously on the Jinx Shifter's Facebook page and Instagram of people getting them hooked up to their rig. And yeah, it's just incredible equipment. It looks great in the photos, but when you receive one, it's just that next level up. So anyone that's looking out to get a new shifter, go hit up Jinx Shifters.
And what's the one thing? How does James Scott focus on his driving?
That's a very good question. I just like to do the best that I can. Obviously, I've been around for 58 races now, apparently. So I sort of know the way around the tracks. So I've got sort of rough times you could work from. And just every time you go to the track, you just want to go a little bit faster than the previous time you were there. So yeah, just trying to improve more, and we'll see where it ends us up.
Excellent. I'll note that down.
Yeah, you'll note that down. That'll be coming out of his pit lane commentary. I can tell you, he'll be watching everything you do on track right now. Norrie is our man, our eyes out in the field, and he's going to be out in the crowd making sure everything's going on throughout our season number 10. Thanks for joining us, mate. It's going to be great to see you back out in the Logitech Holden Commodore, and we can't wait to get season number 10 underway.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me, and look forward to a great season.
Yeah, can't thanks James Scott enough this week for giving us his time there, Norrie, to catch up with us and go through some of the highlights. Unbelievable, 14 wins out of 16 rounds. That is a nice career highlight, and already 58 rounds in the AOSC series over his time here. He's doing a lot of laps, and he's getting a lot of experience out there in the V8 supercar.
Yeah, I found it a bit funny. He couldn't even believe he'd done 58, so had to check the stats book for that one. But yeah, 58 starts for him, and to get 14 out of 16 wins last season, it was just a dominant effort. He was threatened there a couple of times. He got lucky with a couple of those races, but no, he'll be looking to go 16 from 16 this time. And let's hope we've got someone to match him and take him up to the challenge.
Well, speaking about the match, let's have a look at round number 1 that's coming to you from Interlagos in Brazil. Of course, 4.31 kilometres, 15 turns to get around. Dan, this one's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good circuit for us to kick the calendar off, as you say. 15 turns there, 10 right, 10 left, 5 to the right. Just a bit over 4 kilometres in length. So going to be really interesting to see not only how the guys qualify, get the cars off the line. Strategy is going to be a big one in there to play as well. We have seen in past events when the guys have had there, the pace has been pretty consistent. There's not a big difference between what we saw from the old generation car backing up with the new gen. We saw a difference of around 0.6 of a second separating those two. So the pace for both the cars, very, very strong around this circuit. The big thing that's going to be really interesting to see how these guys do is obviously going to be the run into turn 1. It's a very short run from the standing start that we're going to see down into there. Plus, it's a chicane as well. So a lot of 2x2 as the guys work their way through. Potential for a really big incident as the guys get down into that one, especially for the guys starting further down the back of the grid, because it is an uphill run as you cross the start-finish line. From there, it should be a relatively straightforward affair. We're expecting some really good racing up and down through that track. The big ticket items that we're going to have to keep an eye on, though, is obviously the run into pit lane. It's massively quick coming off turn 15. It's a little short rise up into the pit lane, and very easy for the guys to trip over getting down onto their onto their pit lane speed limiters through there. The rejoin is critical as well, because you're trying to flow as much speed as possible down through 2 and 3 up onto the back straight. But you've got to be cautious. There's going to be a lot of battling, and that leads us into some of the prime overtaking on, which we'll touch in a little bit later on. But the other big thing is the big run through the middle of the circuit that we're going to see the guys get into, turns 6 through 13. A lot of it is single file. There is some possibility for passing through there, but it all comes down to setup. And that's going to be the key thing, is what can these guys do to get the most out of these cars, maximize them to get through there.
Absolutely. You're going to want a car that does the turning and makes the corner well, but you'll want one that actually gets off the corner and defends that line.
Yeah, I suppose overtaking areas, Norrie, where would we expect to see that? Turn 1's going to be a big one, of course.
Absolutely. Turn 1's always a crackerjack one, and it's because you've got that left-right chicane that Dan was just talking about. The other great one is coming off that second straight. So the exit off the first set of chicanes is crucial for that second straight and for the actual trajectory you've got to make that pass and into that braking corner at turn 4. So that'll be excellent. But turn 1, I think that's where your money should be.
And how do you think they're going to go with their pit strategy for this one, Norrie? Do you think there'll be a lot of people trying to do the undercut on this one? I mean, we're looking at the pit lane there. It's a long pit lane. It's going to be challenging. You know, do you take the extra pit stop there early, or do you just try and run through the motions and only get 1 or 2 pit stops in on this one?
I think for this one, you don't want to take any pain in the pit stop. You want to make sure you maximize the time, because like you said, it is a long pit lane. It's a long time you're off the racing circuit, and it's not a long lap. It's only an 1 minute 30 odd lap, so it's not long. and you've got to make sure you get through, service, and back out before anyone is going near you on track. So, I wouldn't want to be undercutting this one. I'd want to be going full tilt to the tanks empty and then trying it from there.
Well, guys, I've only just joined this series. I'm new to it. I've watched a bit of the season 9 here on obviously your social media and AOSC TV. Who do you think is going to impress us at this track? Who's the dominant person to watch out for?
Well, I think the hard one is, you can't look past our defending or two-time defending champion now, James Scott. He had a stellar run through the championship, as we saw through the interview there, taking 14 of the 16 events, absolutely untouchable. A lot of guys going to be really trying to shake up the positions further down and maybe try and upset the upper card a little bit and see what they can do to get their nose in front.
And Nora, your pick?
Oh, I think Dan's touched on it before. It's James Scott, just because he was dominant so much last season. He's going to be dominant again. But then don't forget, I've already picked out Jordan Ross, Tom Freer, Adam Briggs, Corey Shepherd. They're all going to be up there. They're all going to want to be punching at the front end of this field, and they need to convert that qualifying pace that we've seen into race pace and really take the charge to James. But James is the form favourite. He fired the warning shot in the preseason testing.
I tell you what, I can't wait for qualifying to get underway at 8:40 p.m. That's 8:40 p.m. on Friday, the 15th of January. 8:40 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. It is round 1 of season number 10, kicking off 2021. All thanks to Jinx Shifters, the Australian Online Supercar Championship. Thanks for your time tonight, guys. This is the pre-race show. Welcome to round number 1 of season 10 of the Jinx Shifters Australian Online Supercar Championship. This is race number 179 in the history of AOSC. We're back tonight, ready to kick off season 10. Of course, myself, Matty Kavanagh, here with Daniel Lee and Matthew Norris. Guys, welcome back.
Good evening, Matt. Great to be back for start of season 10. Awesome looking day out here at Brazil. Awesome grid out on the track as well.
Awesome to be here, guys. Welcome, Maddie, to the broadcast. Great to have you on board.
Mate, I was expecting a big Brazilian accent there from you, Dad. Like, we're going to Interlagos, Brazil is where we're coming from tonight. What do we got? 4.3 kilometres, is it? 3.1 kilometres, getting around here. Of course, fantastic settings already in this, as you can see up on screen there. 34 degrees set. We've got 15 corners to negotiate. It's going to be a big one. We've got qualifying happening now for our top 40, and then we get into the race, and we've got about 35 laps from memory is what we're going to get around here tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. Obviously, it's a very short track circuit, 4.2 Ks in length. A lot of guys out there qualifying right now, so trying to find that little bit of track space, absolutely premium to get in those good laps. We're probably going to see the guys just take a lap or two to build up the tyre pressures, and then the hot laps will start kicking in.
No surprise there. You can see James Scott coming out of the pits, but on our timing screens, he is up number 1 at 132.75, which isn't the fastest time we did see in the previous qualifying session. So they can go faster than that, but not a surprise to see James Scott up the top. We caught up with him this week. It was fantastic for him to give us a bit of his time. Of course, can't thank him enough for that, and we can't wait to see what he's going to do in this with 14 wins out of 16 races in Season 9. Will he be as dominant in Season 10? We're going to find out tonight.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes. We've got some very stiff competition out there tonight, the likes of Corey Shepherd, who we're seeing going out on his outlap at the moment. So we'll see what he can do. He's got a lot of traffic flowing out on there. So this is actually just a warm-up lap to come up to speed. So should be able to find himself a nice little hole that should be pretty comfortable. James Scott, purple down in Sector 3. So he's not messing around already on his way to set a very quick lap already.
Yeah, you can see Reece Keane as well. In the Ford Mustang, he set a Sector 4 purple as well, so he's done the fastest time there in Sector number 4. So they're already sort of starting to get in their groove, like say, tyre temperatures are coming up. They've still got the opportunity to do a bit of resetting here in qualifying before we go into race, where they will have to go through race control if they do want to reset. Big shout out to all our sponsors, of course, who have got back on board for season number 10. Can't thank them enough. Of course, Sydney Computers, they've got all your hardware if you need it to build your sim rigs. And of course, AJ Insurance Services, if you want to get your insurance broking done, especially for your business there, your personal indemnity and everything. Don't forget 10% offer is on there for AOSC members. So go and check out AJ Insurance Services if you've got a business and you need to chase down an insurance broker. So can't thank all our sponsors for getting back online once again. Dan and Norrie. Norrie, you've been watching everyone in the pits. Who's looking pretty dominant tonight?
Well, James Scott, Corey Shepherd's just put in a moment's time to go P3 in the session, but they're all just taking their times, getting a fresh set of tyres, dropping as much fuel out of the tanks as possible, and sending it for another round. So awesome to see them pumping out the laps.
Maybe we'll see a couple of teams there trying to get in the slipstream with the car in front. I did notice that a bit early. You know, a few of the teams there, when one of the guys on the team was struggling, someone a bit faster would go out in front of them and just give them that little bit of advantage so they could try and get in this 40-car field we've got here tonight for the main race. As you can still see Corey Shepherd just checking those timeouts down the bottom there. You can see, obviously, there. We look up on the timing screens on our system. Dylan Rudd's gone the fastest in sector number 1, so he's currently sitting down there in 5th position in the Nash Schaefer racing car. So there are some purple starting to pop up everywhere there. As we look at Corey Shepherd up on screen at the moment, he's running the fastest sector 4 so far with a 13.51 Premier Racing Team. So he's behind Ryan Wood, a couple of Premier Racing Team guys there in the top 5.
They're doing really good. Just keeping an eye on Dylan Rudd, new driver to the championship as well. We didn't see the Nash Schaefer Racing Team compete last season. They have been very dominant in a few other categories, most notably with the GT. So good to see them coming in and putting in some really quick lap times at the moment. Ryan Wood, a little bit of a surprise one. He's currently sitting just bumped down to 3rd, and it's just been displaced by Griffin Gardner for Pursuit Sim Racing as well. So the Pursuit guys really coming out in force so far.
We wouldn't have seen much of Griffin Gardner through last season, but in Season 8 he was a real contender, so it's good to see Griffin Gardner back instantly at the front of the field and back where he belongs.
Well, Tom Freer's just gone into position number 3 there, slipped in, and he did have a faster sector time in sector number 2, I do believe was up on my screen. It's just gone away. So Tom Freer goes into 3rd position in the Synergy Sim Racing team. So we've got 3 different teams in the top 3. Let's see how we go. Of course, James Scott's still sitting up there on that 132.75. He just ran a 132.84 in his last lap. So still topping the charts at the moment. There's 2 Holdens up the top. Griffin Gardner in 2nd, Tom Freer in 3rd, Ryan Wood, Jordan Ross, Corey Shepherd, Dylan Rudd, Damien Johnston, Andrew Dyson, and Adam Briggs rounds out our top 10 at the moment in this qualifying session. As you can see up there, some PBs there for Brett Loxton getting around in the car at the moment. So he's set some of his personal best time. Just trying to see exactly where he may end up in the timing at the moment. Looks like he may have reset there as he's gone off my timing screens there. Michael, Norrie, you need to educate me on this last name.
I butcher it every time, but it's Taliangic.
Oh, look, he's done a fantastic sector 1 and sector 4, so he's topped the he's gone the lowest time in those 2 sectors. Let's see if he can put it together as he comes around across the start finish line here to record this lap, and he goes from 11th position and he's up to 6th. That's a good improvement there, gets him in the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael's one of those drivers too. We saw a lot last season, very conservative on the tyres and the fuel. So look for him to finally get himself into a really good position. I mean, we did notice qualifying last season, maybe not the ultimate strong point that he had there, but if he can get up as far as possible, get a really good race pace on, he's in for a good time there. A little further back, Jordan Ross has now slipped back a couple of spots, was sitting 2nd before, down into the 5th spot. It's like an outlap for him at the moment. The time's just not setting the place alight, but still looking pretty comfortable. The car looking good as well.
And here I've got race control.
During qualifying, they are allowed to. I'm assuming the guys are going to be running minimum fuel for this, and that's why we see them resetting so much. They're going to come out, do 1 or 2 laps and try and keep that weight out of the car to get the best qualifying time as possible. James Scott still sitting up the top of the charts at the moment in our qualifying session, and we will be getting out of this one very shortly and going into another service session once we get underway, of course, in the background there. So it looks like just a couple of technical issues here with this session. People who are watching us out there on YouTube, I'm glad you've joined in and subscribed to AOSC TV. We will be logging out of this one very shortly and logging back into another server. So we'll keep the stream up and running, but we are going to get out of this race. Maybe we'll shout out some of our sponsors out there. We're still going to go through them. Also need to shout out to simrigs.com. If you go there, you want to set up your sim rig, want something pretty flash, you're getting really serious about this racing, they have the best setups you can get. Also, you can get your steering wheels. They've got the steering systems and their braking systems as well. So that's another one to watch out for.
Absolutely. I mean, there's some fantastic kit that they have there in the showroom, and I mean, definitely a big step up for a lot of rigs going, especially into that 80/20 profile. So definitely well worth a look. As up the top of the timing tree, Ryan Woods has now displaced James Scott as well. He's set a really cracking time, 132.71. A couple of tenths quicker than what we saw from Scott, who is back out underway on another hot lap. So actually just warming up the tyres, so he'll be ready to go very, very soon.
Yeah, so the server is actually about to go down, ladies and gentlemen, and we will keep our live stream running, but we will be crossing over to a new server in just a second. So if you do see the cars go off the screen, don't worry about that one. We're still out there in our qualifying at the moment, though. It looks like James Scott just slowly going around that Logitech Commodore at the moment, just letting some cars go through and maybe trying to find some clean air. Maybe that is all they're looking for. Corey Shepherd just goes sector 1 fastest time too, so he is on a flyer at the moment in that Ford Mustang. So let's just see how Shepherd gets around there. We're looking up on the timing boards. Currently sitting in 7th fast at the moment with a 133 flat. He needs to go better than 132.71 from Ryan Wood if he wants to get up number 1. He can't be too far away from completing this. He's gone through sector 4. Unfortunately, sector 3 and 4 don't look like they are as fast at times. There's another PB in sector 2 as he comes around. He's got to complete a lap very shortly, and Corey Shepherd will go up the chart there to 4th position. Well, we are back, and we are going to kick off race number 179 of the series course. It is round number 1 of season 10 of the AOSC Super Series. All thanks to Jinx shifters, guys. Bit of technical difficulties to start things off tonight, but we're back, and we are about to get underway with their qualifying session again.
Yeah, pretty quick turnaround there. So 20 minutes will be reset on the qualifying grid. We'll see what times these guys are able to push out. It's going to be a little bit condensed now compared to the 30 minutes we would have had previous to that. But then from there, kick straight over into the race. And it's going to be pretty much hell for leather to watch these guys try and get out there, set the quickest times as possible.
And the fastest guy so far has been Ryan Wood, though, with that 1:32.71. So he's been the one leader over James Scott, which is good to see. Putting a bit of pressure on the reigning champion.
Absolutely. And how's the grid? Everyone trying to get out, find that little bit of track room at the moment. You see Talianci's just pushing through, trying to find a little bit of a gap. James Scott's involved there. Brian Borg further back. The Synergy guys are all out. And Ryan Wood just taking his time, going a bit steady, bringing that tyre pressure up. So he's looking to set himself up for a pretty comfortable run here. But this is really tough for these guys now, trying to find that little bit of space.
The difficult thing is now, guys, you go on reset. You've just gone and had what you thought was your qualifying glass, and now you've got to reset, go again, and try and find that magic number.
That's going to work for the muscle memory, though. Like, they have done a few extra laps here tonight, so you think, they'll sort of just be a bit of memory going around again. I know Ryan Wood's probably hoping he can lay down that 1:32.71 again. James Scott probably hoping he can go a little bit faster in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't imagine we would have seen any major setup swings on these cars from what we saw in the first session to now. Obviously, the pace will be very, very quick. We're going to see if we can get on board for a look across the front straight here as Woods comes down and just plucking 6th gear before the entry into pit lane. So he's ready to start his flying laps. Let's have a listen.
Oh, a bit of a lock up on the brakes there by the looks of it, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the spots we noted in the pre-race show. One of the key spots to get down into the braking zone in turn 1. Very, very difficult with these cars. It pushes it way out wide. And when you're grip limited and brake limited, it's pretty awkward. But he's up to top gear again, down into 6th, right up on that white line. And this is a good turn through turn number 5. He's going to have to be careful here not to excite those rear tyres as he works his way up to 6, 7 and 8.
So much elevation change. That's what you really pick out of this view, don't you? You can really shows you how much they go up and down. There's 43 metres difference in elevation over this entire track, so that's a fair amount.
Absolutely, and it's it's all in awkward places. Like we've seen just that rise up the hill. We're now going through some low spots. We're going to come around through this little hairpin to set up for another drop down in elevation, and then we start the long climb back up over the front straight again. So not easy to get the most out of these cars.
Now we'll probably see the temperature starting to come up on those tyres. It's probably going to be this next lap we'll see some amazing times. I noticed Hobson's already gone fastest sector 1. Fastest sector 5 has been Brett Loxton to date. So they're pretty quick up the top as they're starting to record a few times coming up. Of course, we've only seen the first full laps come through, and it looks like Michael, he's already gone down, hasn't he, from Pursuit Racing. They're coming in. James Scott, though, goes up the top at 1:32.43. That is flying. Corey Shepherd there in 2nd, Tom Freer behind, Ryan Wood in 4th on his lap. He just got out of there with him as the guys getting around. I mean, they're obviously running minimum fuel on this one, trying to get down as fast as they possibly can in this qualifying session.
Absolutely. That's a blinding lap from Scott. I was just keeping an eye on the times as he was working through, and he had sectors 2, 3 and 4 all lit up in purple. So getting on with business here is he's going to come out and have another crack to see what he can do. Further down the field, everyone else is just starting to set their times. We've got all the way down to 22nd position with the time on the board so far, and the rest of the guys just working their way around. So plenty of time left here to get that last good lap in. But surprisingly, we've already ticked through 4 minutes of this time. We've only got that one flying lap through.
And a look at someone off the back there as we look at, is that Adam Briggs now, who's going around in the simbriggs.com Mustang getting around. Bring him up on screen, just goes through. He's done it 1:33.31. He's currently sitting in 20th position here so far in qualifying. We really are only on the 2nd flying lap for these drivers. As
he gets around, he does a personal best in sector 1. We'll stay on him and see exactly how he goes through the times. The timing system's updating, but looks like he's overshot the corner and pulled out already.
Yeah, very easy to do there too, because you do want to come down as late as possible, try and maintain that flow through the final, that corner there. It's always easy just to overshoot it a fraction. We'll see James Scott now about ready to start his next flying lap. We'll see how he gets under here as he works his way through. A little bit of traffic ahead that he's going to have to contend with. I don't think it's going to upset him too much. That's Ryan Woods just a little further up the field. We've got the Synergy cars working their way around as well.
He's two-time champion in a row now. It is for James Scott. We did expect to see him probably up there in the top 3. He did only run a 1:32.74 in the previous session we had up. Corey Shepard's gone really well, though. James Scott goes off the track. Runs it wide. They're pushing hard.
Absolutely. It's really easy to do through that spot. A lot of load on those cars and just trying to get the most out of it. We've got some other cars off. I think that might have been Taliancic hard into the wall there as well. So a few guys just giving it a little bit more and then some and just starting to pay that price. But we have got a few quick times starting to show up again. Keep an eye here. Ryan Wood, he's going to have to be careful. He's got that black traffic in front of him. We'll see whether that's going to be any impedance at all. It doesn't look like it so far, but it's always on your mind as you come up to the back of these guys.
It would look like that rear was very loose going in that corner.
Definitely. I don't know what he's got available to him as far as an adjustment left. Maybe a little bit of the roll bar, but you're not really going to be wanting to play with this too much, especially on these quick short laps while the fuel is minimal.
So they're moving around our timing screens at the moment. Sector 2's just lit up for Ryan Wood. He's gone phenomenally fast in that sector. We can see sector 1, that was where he locked those brakes up there in that one corner, got a little bit loose as he comes around to complete his lap. He's not far off. Let's check him out as he goes around. Personal best in sector 4. How does he go through sector 5? No, Wood will stay in the same position, but he's moved up. He's gone a 1:32.53, so he's gone 0.07 of a second faster in that one and moved up to 3rd fastest at the moment.
Absolutely, and that's really good consistency in that car too. We saw him do a 1:32.41 in the previous session, so he's only just a bit over a tenth away from his outright pace. We'll look to see whether he's able to get that up, but this is a really strong showing from Premier. Corey Shepard has snuck up into the 2nd spot there. His teammate Ryan Wood right behind, so those guys looking good. And then just further down, Griffin Gardner, we've got up on screen at the moment for Pursuit Sim Racing, setting a pretty handy time as well. Only just over a tenth of a second behind. He's going to abort this lap, but the Pursuit Sim Racing car's looking very, very good right now.
We see a lot of people going back to the pits. Run us through exactly why they've got the opportunity in qualifying to do it. They can't do it during race. They've got to go into race control for reset. But Norrie, why do they reset after just doing a lap or 2?
So they'll want to be running the fuel load as low as possible. They'll want to be running only one set of tyres per fuel load. And the quicker you can get back to the pit lane, get a new set of boots on, tiniest slither of fuel back in the car to get around and get yourself probably 3 laps, if that. That's time you can find on the circuit and time you're not sitting in pit lane.
Yeah, that's why you can see him resetting if you just joined us here on AOSC TV. If you haven't joined into AOSC TV on YouTube, make sure you go and subscribe to that channel for us and watch us on Friday nights. We get through 16 rounds here in season number 10. This is race number 179. Of course, all thanks to Jinx Shift. It's 179 of the ongoing AOSC series, but it is round 1 for season 10. As we check the times out coming out there, Corey Shepard's back out there. He's still in that 2nd position, but he'll be chasing it down. Just having a look there. He's still sitting there at a 1:32.47, just 0.4 of a second behind James Scott. Oh, big entry into the wall that time.
Yeah, and that was the 707. That was Tom Freer. So he was just sitting in behind his teammate as we switch up to Jordan Ross. You can see all that traffic coming out of the lane, doing the courteous thing, just hanging to that inside to not get in the way of any of these hot laps as the guys work through. But those two were looking pretty handy, using a little bit of the team drafting mentality, get those cars up a little bit further towards the front end. So going to be interesting. Freer has got that car reset, will be back underway. I think just looking at where he's come out on track, he might have actually found himself a little pocket of clean track, which is very hard to do around this 4.2 kilometre circuit.
Jordan Ross just takes a little bit too much curve there, gets on the grass. That's going to hurt the times there. He wasn't doing too bad. He had a PB in sector 1 at that time. He's actually gone sector 3 PB. So I'll be surprised if that'll stick there, because I do know with iRacing, if you take a little bit too much curb or brush a wall, they do not accept that time, do they?
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like he's kept this one very consistent at the moment. We'll wait to see, or he's just made a little bit of a moment on the run up towards the start of turn 16 there. So he's going to have to reset. Switch back further. James Scott now back underway, but hopefully he didn't have that off track, but it might have played in his favour if he did. He's been able to reset and get back underway, but not the ideal way to do it.
As you see James Scott coming around here, this is an outlet for him, so don't expect this one to be his fastest one. He only just came out of pit lane. Everything will be up to temperature now, and watch him fly around. We've got him on screen at the moment. Be interested to see if he can improve on that 132.43. He's got himself 0.04 of a second breathing room at the moment over Corey Shepherd in second, then back to Ryan Wood, who's another 0.06 of a second behind him, and then just 1/100 of a second behind that is Griffin Gardner, who's pushed up in the Pursuit Sim Racing Holden Commodore, and Tom Freer in 5th position is our top 5. We hold on with James Scott there on screen at the moment.
Yeah, that car looks very, very nice up over the curbs. Been a bit of a trademark for these guys. They've managed to get the car set up exceptionally well, and it's just proved just with how quick he's able to do. A little bit of lap traffic might potentially get in the way. We'll just see Kaliancic coming out of shot. So I don't think we'll see any issue there. Michael, very seasoned competitor, and James just gets a little bit of a bobble or a lock up, and unfortunately that's the end of this run for him.
Want to reset and try and get back out there, get another lap in. Just going through, I do notice with James Scott is he does like to turn that car in relatively early, doesn't he? He turns in a little bit earlier than most of the other drivers out there, and that just seems to be his driving style, a bit different to the others. Need to thank Track Cams for Gourmet, who have got on board for this season. They're giving us some great footage there, so we can do some different camera angles throughout the season and try and give you the best footage that we can to see exactly what is happening out there in the races. Oh, lock up there, Corey Shepherd. Is he hard on the brakes there? Has to grab it with the steering wheel. That'd be exciting inside the cockpit of that car, but I think that's going to be a reset for him as well.
Yeah, definitely. Have a look here. Brett Loxton, some new colours on the Zuva racing car. Gone the traditional blue-white and the unicorn down the side. Very nice livery with Jinx Shifters logos plastered all over that car. So one of the nicely new presented cars to join in for season 10.
Yeah, I like how he's got the chrome on that one too, so that's going to be great under lights. And good to see that big Jinx Shifter logo. If you do like that logo, don't forget they do have the merchandise, and we've been lucky enough to grab a t-shirt off them. So they do have the merchandise up on the Jinx Shifters website and Facebook page. Go check them out. Of course, some of the best Australian-made shifters that you can, well, they are the best Australian-made shifter you can grab, and they do help a lot out on track, as we did catch up with James Scott, and he's loving the shifter he got from them.
Absolutely. No, a little interesting seeing the pit time, or the pace at the moment. It has improved a little over what we saw from that first session. That the time's just down to almost a second covering the top 40 drivers. Do you think for these guys to come out, they've maybe found a little minor tweak that's maybe suited these cars a bit better?
I think the extra running might be what it is. They've had a bit more time on circuit and find a bit more time to do things like that and fire into walls. But there's a bit more time on circuit, and that always helps with your confidence as a driver. You can push that brake pedal a bit harder, a bit deeper, turn into the corner a bit tighter, and find it at an extra tenth here and there.
Loxton there doing a bit of high-tech drift, I tell you what. He's holding on to that one coming around that corner. That was exciting to watch, but that's going to reset him back in the pits. Going to try and get another couple of laps in here, as we are 13 minutes and 26 seconds into this 20-minute qualifying session for 45 drivers. It is very important you get up the front end. How much, guys, do you think the teams are going to start drafting now to try and get as many of their drivers up the ladder as possible, I suppose, up the starting order?
Well, we've already seen it from the moment the green flag went out in this session. We've already seen those teams utilising that bit of a draft to try and get themselves through. We saw Synergy Sim Racing doing it for Jordan Ross and Tom Freer. Fortunately, Freer found the wall on that occasion, but the team's already utilising that. Probably the hard one, or the toughest effort out there for the driver is going to be James Scott. Doesn't have a teammate out on circuit. Traditionally, we've seen Brady Mayers come through, especially last season, but doing it a little bit solo, and I'm sure that the guys out there are not going to want to provide any more assistance to help him get a decent lap time than what they have to.
Yeah, we just see James Scott has come out of the pits, but Corey Shepherd's on a bit of a flyer at the moment. As we look up at our timing screens, we don't want to give him the camera curse though, because it seems to be when we get on them, they like they're getting a little bit loose, maybe a little bit too much power under the right foot coming out of the corners, or hard under the braking, how they've got the bias set up. He goes a little bit wide there. I hope he hasn't gotten off track in that one. I'm just having a look up on our events screen to see if that comes up. Corey Shepherd, second position there in the Premier Racing Team, 132.47, does not improve. His last lap 134.15. So, but here we go. You can see the purple sector times come up on 1, but those 2, 3, and 4 have really hurt him, and he's backed out of it now. But looks of it. Yeah, so he's on the brakes. Corey Shepherd with a reset there for the Prem Racing Team. So, we have a look up the charts. It's still James Scott in number 1, Corey Shepherd 2, Ryan Wood 3, Griffin Gardner. We've got him up there now. He's in 4. 5 is Tom Freer. They're your top 5 at the moment. Gardner on a run though. He's got a PB in Sector 1 and Sector 4. As we see the green come up on the timing screen there, and he's getting around.
Whether Michael Talianchich just at the back of shot there is able to make anything with a little bit of a draft as well. He's a little further down the order than what we saw in that first session. Currently sitting in P14. Hasn't really been able to improve too much on the time. It's interesting to see he's already 5/10 behind it. For Gardner, they're not going to continue on with that lap, unfortunately for him. He'll come back and start again.
So Norrie, the pits are looking rather packed at the moment. It's a long pit lane too, so they've got to get out. Everyone seems to be doing the right things.
Absolutely, it's condensed down here. We've got a whole bunch of cars, as you can see on that timing tower, that are leaving and heading out, trying to look for that extra tenth before the final few minutes of qualifying. Got a couple of cars just coming in and getting that fuel load set, tyres set. So it's very busy in the pit lane, and still some spots out on track.
How good is the vision here from track cams for Gourmet? You see him come over so close to that front splitter as he gets around. Having a look up at the times though, he's got to beat a 1:32.53 to improve on his current time. He's in 3rd place for Ryan Wood in the racecraft Isuzu Trucks Ford Mustang.
Yeah, I think this time might not be much of an improvement for him there. Unfortunately, didn't have any green sectors as he works his way through. A little bit of a struggle getting into turn 1 there again. He's got potential for at least 2 more laps here if he's able to get back underway. We'll see how he goes as we turn our attention further back to Aaron Dodd, working his way around in the 737, down in 13th position. Good run for him so far out there. And he's got one of the Premier racing cars right in behind. I think that might be Brian Borg tucking in for a look.
Yes, Aaron Dodd from the Mark 1 Esports team. God, it's a nice looking car though. I do like the livery on this one as he gets around from Brisbane, Australia, normally into BMX. So good to see him get involved in the sim racing. We know a lot of people have got involved in the sim racing due to our current restrictions with COVID and everything else, but it's great to see so many people staying involved in the sim racing as well, and having a great time getting involved in things like the Jinx Shifters Australia Online Supercar Championship. As we check him come around now, he's going through the times. Does he go any better than 13? Does he see how he completes this lap? He's not doing too bad. 1:32.86 is where he was at, and this time he will. We'll just wait for the screens to update there. No, it looks like we're going to run a 1:32.86. It's going to stay in 13th position at the moment for him. I'm just getting some updates coming through now. Looks like he is still getting around. Reset for him, but we'll get on track now. It looks like Andrew Dyson, who was very quick in some of the practice sessions over the last couple of weeks. I'll expect to see him maybe jump into... He might go up a couple of positions. Currently sitting in number 16 in the 41 Mustang. He's got a 1:32.91, so very interesting. We see a lot more people in the 1:32s in this session, whereas in the previous one before our technical difficulties, we did have probably only, I think it was 4 or 5 cars in the 1:32s. Now we're going all the way down to position number 18. So very close together, only half a second between them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's just found that little bit of pace that they need to start moving it back up. Maybe a slight tweak in the track temperature. Obviously, it will be a little bit different there as we see it up on screen. 38 degrees on track. Very, very slick for these guys to work their way through. So we'll keep an eye on that potential for that maybe to go up or down a little bit over the course of the race. We'll wait and see how that goes. I am surprised, however, just to see how far down the DPR cars are. We saw them partway or most of the way through last season, really taking it towards James Scott. Currently, we've got Adam Briggs just sitting on the top 10. Andrew Dyson, who we were just riding on for, down in 16th. So a little bit of work for those guys to do.
In that time, though, well, Griffin Gardner went up for second place. Now he's gone back to third again. Corey Shepherd's improved again. They've just mucked around there. So it looks like Gardner has gone equal time there for his best time of 1:32.47, but Shepherd did run it first. So going to hold on that second position, third for Gardner. So he's getting a little bit quicker out there too, just putting the Pursuit Sim Racing car in the top 3 here for qualifying as we are in 19.59. We're about to finish this qualifying session. Looks like the checkered flag is out. So last chance to set a time. Adam Briggs is still out there. He's gone 10th fastest, 1:32.74. Just up on screen, so that'll bring the end of his qualifying session. A couple of cars still here to finish as Hobson there. Hodjo in the Synergy Sim Racing car. The Holden Commodore, he's not too far away from completing this lap at the moment.
No, not at all. It's a nice exit for him out there. You see a green time for him through sector 2. We'll see what he's able to do as Ryan Wood brings it back into the lane, preparing for race start. We'll chuck back to Hobson here, see what he's able to do as he comes across the line, actually going to abort that lap and bring it back in.
Yeah, Brayley Frid is sitting in 18th at the moment on the Shoot Sim Racing team. He did a 1:32.98 at the moment. He looks like he's on a good lap at the moment. He's going to check this one out as he goes. A little bit wide there. That's probably not going to give him a good run as he comes around the corner. Can't be far away from completing this lap too as they come around.
Yeah, these are our final 2 cars out on circuit, and Fred there gets across the line, doesn't improve or obtain that 18th spot. Well, actually gets it up to 12th, so that's a good little improvement for him there.
Yeah, he's gone up a position there too. So no surprise there to see James Scott up the top of the leaderboards. Where the Logitech G Artist Esport Commodore has really not he hasn't surprised us, but he's back up to number 1. We thought he was going to be dominant probably in the first couple of rounds of this season again. So let's run through how they have qualified. So it's James Scott up there with a 1:32.43 topping the charts. Not far behind on equal time, though, is second place Corey Shepherd from Premier Racing Team and third place Griffith Gardner in the Pursuit Sim Racing, so both are 1:32.47. And then we only go back 600ths of a second before we hit Ryan Wood, who was in an earlier session up the top just in front of James Scott, but they weren't quite running this fast, and they were running 1:32.7s. He did a 1:32.53 this time out. Tom Freer rounds out your top 5 with a 1:32.60, just 700ths behind him. So they're your top 5 at the moment. Norrie, who are you liking, though, out there for consistency? Who do you think's been putting the most laps together?
Oh, there's a few guys out there for consistency. Definitely Freer, Hobbo, and Briggsy. They've definitely been the most consistent I've seen throughout their qualifying laps. Freer's thrown it at the wall a couple of times, but other than that, it's been quite consistent.
Let's run through the front row. James Scott, Corey Shepherd alongside. Then we'll go back to Griffith Gardner alongside Wood. Freer in row number 3 alongside Ross. Hobson in row 4 alongside Stokes. Rudd and Briggs in row 5. In row 6, it'll be Johnston and Frid, who made it into the top 12 in that last lap. Then it's, I'm going to say this, Talajanic in 13th position coming out of row number 7 it is, alongside Dodd. Then it's Loxton alongside Pearson, Dyson alongside Borg. Surprised to see Brian Borg back that far, the young fella. And then it's Stolvoid alongside Jones. Bradley Vaughn joined us in the series in what looks like it's going to be the 11th row there alongside Jacob Knight. Then it's Christian Smart alongside Reese King. We keep going down. It's Veacock taking on Barnett there for row number 13. And then it will be Harrison alongside Maguire. Anspatch alongside Dyke. Harris alongside McNamara. And we will go through them really quickly. That's gone really quick for me. I'll tell you what, as we go through, I am going to have a look up on my timing screen and see if we can keep that going. They are starting to load up and go out on track at the moment. We've got a big field here. They are all getting gridded up for race number 1 of season 10, which is race number 179 of the AOSC championships in its entire history. So we're almost coming up to 200 races. We're not going to quite get there in season 10, but season 11, watch out for that one. We'll have the 200th race. We'll do something special for that. Guys, get ready, get set. We've 35 laps to get around here at Interlagos, Brazil. As the lights are up, we're about to go racing. Here we come. The flag comes out and we are underway. James Scott gets a nice little lead there over Corey Shepherd there as they go in the first turn. Corey Shepherd puts the nose in. This is where it's all going to come unstuck for a few people if they're too wide. But it looks like our top four have got through nicely and slotted in. Sideways there, though, for Ryan Wood. Makes a move up there into third position. The Tom Freer's got through as well. So they've made a couple of moves there. Just trying to see as we're moving back, because it was Gardner who was in third position. I'm trying to find out how far back he has actually gone.
Yeah, he's dropped a fair way down the field. We also had Kobe Jones involved in an issue as well. He's dropped 19 spots down to 39th position. And a few guys still starting to fall down the order as well. But a top handful of guys all getting away quite comfortably. It's still 2 and 3 wide as the guys work down to the middle portion of the circuit. Everyone trying to fight their way through, but the top two already starting to gain a little bit of momentum.
Not scared to put them 3 wide too as they come through this tight section. Looks like they're up to turn number 9 there as they head back up the hill to turn number 10. Still too wide for some of them as they go through. Neil Pearson there. He's the number 62 simrigs.com Ford Mustang. Currently sitting in 14th position up on screen. As you can see the battle there, that is 14th. He's going to try and battle there for that 13th just in front of him, who is Brian Borg holding on in the 017. So we've got a 17 and a 017 in the series this year. So just watch out for those ones as they get around. So we're just talking about Griffith Gardner before, gents, and saying how he's just dropped right off. Seems like something's gone wrong on the start for him. So that is very unfortunate. Maybe he's had a hardware failure.
Yeah, a little unsure what's taken an issue there. Actually, we just seen it in the chat. So he's just had a power outage as he got to the grid. So very unfortunate for him there. And unfortunately, you're not going to see what he was capable of putting together in that Pursuit Sim Racing car. But hopefully we'll have him back for round 2. In that one, so hard luck, mate, but fantastic qualifying job nonetheless.
Shows that, you know, this is simulated racing and things like this happen in normal racing as well. Things go wrong on the start line. Unfortunately, it's a power outage for him this time for Gardner. That's going to hurt him in round number 1, but that's okay. We'll see him here for the next round of racing as we get there. James Scott's still out in the lead at the moment. Norrie, are you seeing anything happening down there around the track?
Got some replays for you though before we find out anything interesting.
So here's a look at what happened on the start there for Kobe Jones. You see the guys 3 wide down there and a bit of a spin down into turn 1, and that was something we picked up on the pre-race show that we were expecting the guys to potentially get into as they work their way through. Here's a look down in the midfield. So the 3 wide going through turn 1 down into the second corner, and just gets hung out wide and puts it sideways. Doesn't look like he got collected, so everyone doing a hell of a job to get around that stricken car in the middle of the track, but he dropped a massive amount of spots. That 19th positions put him well down.
Let's have a look at this next replay at the start. Of course, Barnett somewhere here.
Oh, that's crazy. Watching those ones, the guys were well off the circuit trying to rejoin, and then that contact between Barnett, and then he's moving again as the rest of the field coming through. So that will no doubt catch the attention of race control there for an unsafe rejoin.
So we bring Tom Freer back up on screen there, the JK Signs Mustang getting around. He's currently sitting in 4th position, so he's gone up 1 position from where he started in 5th. Ryan Wood in front of him, Corey Shepherd in 2nd, and James Scott still leading. James Scott doesn't look like he's opened up too much of a gap at the moment there. It's just 0.5, it's 0.5 of a second at the moment, just out in the lead there, about half a second between him and Corey Shepherd as Freer still on screen there. He's got a couple of sector times there though, but no one going on as we check out on screen now for a little battle that's going on. There's some huge damage, isn't there?
Absolutely. We're just looking at Cameron Veacock. He's got a massive amount of damage on that car. Front to rear is being completely boxed in, so not sure what's happened to him, but he's going to want to get that thing repaired and back underway. He's got Reese Keane right in behind, and then Matty Mascor, Jamie Dyke all closing in. We see a move through the inside there for Keane, so we'll see whether we see that car come in the lane.
Check out the replay on here. Try and find exactly what went on.
had nowhere to go there with the car being turned across, and then also picked up by one of the Tank SRT cars on the way through. So down into that first head, very, very tricky spot.
And Norrie, with all that aero missing off that car, how much is that going to impact him? He's obviously going to have to go and get a fast repair done.
So he's rolling out of lane now. They've plugged the, I would say plug the leak. There's a bonnet and a boot back on that thing. So, that's a bit of a heavy-handedness back there in the pack.
Is that Loxton coming together there with the two of Mackenzie? So Loxton and Mackenzie stuck in a little bit of a battle here for what is 14th position, and they are swapping liveries at the moment. So we could almost swap them. They've traded enough paint as it is out there on the race circuit, but it looks like it's going to be Loxton's going to hold onto that position now and makes his way into that 14th spot. Wonder how much damage that's going to put on the car, though, if at all.
Yeah, it looks like it's tracking relatively straight at the moment. I don't know whether we're able to jump quickly on board and just see if there's any left or right hand down on that wheel, but shouldn't hold him up too much. He's already made a bit of a gap over Mackenzie and Sharp, just sitting in behind. Those two having a little bit of an inter-team or inter-commentary battle between Hyperdrive and Purchasing Sports there. But the car for Loxton looking pretty straight and okay at the moment. Doesn't seem to be too far down on power. He's going off after McNamara and Hilshard.
James Scott still leading this race out front of the Logitech G Autos Esports. Commodore with Corey Ship in second, Ryan Wood in third, Tom Freer in fourth, and Jordan Ross rounds out our top five. Up on screen though, Kyle Stokes in the sixth position there in the JK Signs. Holden Commodore, obviously from Synergy Sim Racing, getting around. Just not closing that gap quite enough, put too much pressure on Jordan Ross in front. Anything could happen though, Ross just needs to make a small mistake. Nice bit of curve there though for Stokes, so nice smooth as they go around that corner there. It looks like they're heading up into turn number 10, is it?
Yeah, the guys are doing a really good job at the moment. 4 Synergy Sim cars, line astern, and over the last season we saw Synergy really come on strong with their setups in this car. They struggled a little bit through season number 8, got there towards the end, and last season really come on strong, and this is a good return to form for them. Just in the background behind Brett and Hobson, we've got Adam Briggs also setting up for a run, potentially down into turn 1 also.
Well, let's check it. We talked about turn number 1 in the pre-race show, and we've spoken about it already tonight. It's going to be hard under brakes, and that's really where you've got a good overtaking opportunity if you can get right up under that wing and tuck in the aero. Doesn't look like anyone's made a move on this lap. I can see Adam Briggs in the back there behind Hobson there. He's looking right in that rear vision mirror. How big is the front of that car? It looks like he makes a move in the background there. We change over to Jamie Dyke, who's in 20th position at the moment from the Fishy Motorsports. He's looking for that 19th position over Matty Mascord, who's just in front. This one could be a nice little run as they head down this back straight. Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough there to make a move, though. As you can see him, they're all banked up. 5 of them now in that position there from 19th back as we move them around here on our timing screen. Looks like it's position 16 there for Jamie Dyke. So a few people just entering the pits now. We're starting to see the pit lane. Who has come through, Norrie? Who have we seen that's notable into the pit lane?
We've seen... Been a few that come through. No one's actually made a stop yet, more just repairs, running repairs to get these cars back to their pristine self.
Well, there you go. A few repairs already happening. We did see that big damage earlier too. With, a couple of people having to do some quick repairs. Of course, they only get one opportunity to do that as we head around. Still our leader coming around just to complete the lap now as they start a fresh one. Up on screen is the bat of Matty Mascord. You can see how close behind Jamie Dyke is in the Fishy Motorsports Ford Mustang. Great views here from the back of the car. You can see how close they're getting around some of these corners. So
he's going to set up for a really nice run here down into 1. You see that draft starting to come on, pokes the nose out, just probably a touch back too far. The guys behind still getting into it as well, with Hildershit and McNamara just having their own little scrap, and actually Brett Loxton also back involved in that little fight as well after his issues earlier on.
That's really the risk you take at the moment there. You've still got to be a little bit defensive because they are not far behind him there for Jamie Dyke. Like you say, they put a bit of pressure on him as well. So he's trying to be attack mode, I suppose, and gain a position, but at the same time, he doesn't want to let anyone behind him get an advantage either. So in a very precarious position at the moment. Hopefully he can hold on to that one. And he seems to be a little bit faster through this section here as he closes up the gap there. Maybe he just enters the corner a little bit later, I think. Maybe we like to see Brett Loxton there goes in a little bit early. Matty Maskell goes in a little bit earlier there, and that's where they gain, but he makes it up coming out. As you can see the damage now, though, on the side of Brett Loxton's Holden Commodore. We were talking about it earlier. We got on board to see if it was tracking all right, but that livery has taken a beating, the Jinx Shifter logo. Worn out on the side. It's bit of damage.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to have to just settle it down a bit. No doubt race control will be keeping an eye, especially on that little bump and run that we saw on him getting through and gaining a spot. So we'll wait to see what happens from that one. It's been really interesting watching these two continue their battle, and that's Matty Maskell and Jamie Dyke. Two very different driving styles and entry into it. Quite a few of these corners we're seeing Maskell come in very, very early on. Dyke tends to come in just that little bit later, tries to straighten up and square it off. It seems to work quite well for him, and if anything, probably going to help save those tyres just a fraction more. And he'll be able to have a good, solid charge just around that time where the guys are going to start getting into their stop zones.
So Scott's still leading us up the front there. You can see Matty Maskell up on screen, though. What a great face. Good to have him up there. It's good to see we've got our driver profiles light. Scott's still leading this race over Corey Shepherd and Ryan Wood. Ryan Wood now putting a little bit of pressure there on Shepherd. Of course, both from the Premier Racing team. So we'll see how they go. They're not going to want to scrap it out being teammates, but they'll be trying to do whatever they can to assist each other, catching up to James Scott, who has a little bit of a gap there at the moment, just half a second. You can notice there he turns in that corner a little bit earlier. Scott, that seems to be his driving style. You see him catch up to him sort of at the start of the corner, but he gets a good run off it, and that's where he gets that gap straight back out to just over half a second there in the Logitech G Altus eSport Holden Commodore.
Yeah, very, very smooth driver in these cars, not really putting it too hard or using up more than he needs to get the lap time out of it. You just see that gap marginally coming down as the guys work their way down the front straight, and that draft effect really coming into play there. So about a 10th of a second gain across the start-finish line. Actually 2/10 of a second that last time by for Shepherd. So gained a little bit more, but as they float their way down through 2 and 3, that gap extends back out, so just over that 5/10 of a second.
You're right. Corey Shepherd was a little bit faster in that last lap. So James Scott's got a little bit to contend with this one. Needs to watch out. The two guys behind him are pretty keen to have a bit of a go. It's going to be interesting, I think, later in the race once we start seeing the pit stops, Norrie, because it's going to be hard breaking into that pit lane, and one little mistake could cost you.
Going to get a replay. Keith.
So down in this fight, we've got Keane, Sharp, I think that might be Holland, and not much separating all these guys. Have a look here, a bit of side-by-side down through turn, I think that might be turn 14, out towards the ripple strip there. And some great side-by-side racing for both of these two cars.
As we get back live, as we see him going through. Yeah, Norrie, we did touch on it earlier. Sorry to break in there on you, but yeah, you know, at what point, like, it's going to be on a knife's edge really when they come into pit lane, and a mistake is really going to cost you, isn't it?
Yeah, we touched on it in the pre-race show, but that pit entry is still on the racing line through that final corner, so you can cut that corner sufficiently. And as you see, we have Michael Talianjic boxing now, so that's our first one in the lane. As you saw in his run there, that's right on the racing line, so it's going to take some avoidance from both driver entering and driver passing.
Is this our first pit entry that's actually coming for fuel and tyres, isn't it? It's not a repair. So you're interested to see the pit time there as he goes through. It'll be quite a long transit time for him. As we said earlier, that is a long pit lane. As we get on board now with Jacob Knight and the EXG Motorsports Holden Commodore. Big Natrad radiators and auto air along the side of it too. Looks pretty good too, boys. This one's going to look good under lights.
Yeah, it's a great livery on that car. It's one they've had for quite a few seasons now. No, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we've seen that out on action for at least maybe the last 3 years, maybe a little bit longer, but definitely has dated exceptionally well on that livery.
Sometimes liveries are timeless.
Oh, they are timeless. The Fishy Motorsports, Dyke is on screen in the Mustang. He hasn't managed to get that job done over... sorry, Matty Mascott was behind him before, so he's managed to get past Dyke for that, what is 18th position at the moment. You can see Dyke there. He doesn't look like he's going to cause him any drama now that Mascott's got through. Looks like he's opened up a little bit of a gap there. Looks a little bit comfortable. McNamara right behind him, though. He needs to watch out for him because McNamara could put a little bit of pressure on him as the race goes on. Of course, we are in lap number 11 of 34 at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like going to be struggling just a little bit here on the toe. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough to get a decent run. So we've got Dylan Rudd also in the lane coming through for his first stop. So that should set him out in a pretty nice little bit of pocket of space. There's a fairly decent sized gap where he can slot back into as we see this battle still continuing on down for the 11th lap, down through turn number 4 there. And not much separating either of these two. Just not getting him enough maybe grip to try and close that gap up through that high-speed section.
Some of the positions out on track though at the moment, and as you can see, well, I can see they're actually all on the same lap, so we're not coming up to any lap traffic at the moment, which is pretty good considering we are a third of the way through the race. Good to see them all out there on the lead lap, nice and close there too for our tops 18. You know, they're all bunched up really within about 5 corners of each other, especially down that back section where it's not as fast. You see him come around back onto the main straight as it's still Scott leading us over Shepherd. Shepherd has closed that gap down though. You see that just drop into the 0.3 of a second there. It was up to half a second a couple of laps ago now. He shaved a 1/10 of a second off that one fairly consistently. As you see it go between 3 and 4/10. And Wood seems to have dropped back off just a little bit from Shepherd at the moment.
I think this is a pretty smart move there for Woods, just to hang around, see if he can pick up the crumbs and see how that unfolds for him. We're just going to duck back here to the 32nd position. Tally Ansich up on screen at the moment. He was our first driver to come through the lane and get his tyres and fueling all done, back underway. He's got a few guys ahead of him in Flock and Beacock, not that far up the road. And pace at the moment, we'll have a look at his last time by was his first time back out. See whether he's able to get much more of an advantage on those fresh rubber.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty standard pit stop for him, was it?
Yep, nothing out of the ordinary for Talianchich on that one.
Well, as we got Norrie getting around, he's checking out all the pit views and finding out what's going on. It's Corey Shepherd under brakes here. You can see the back of the car light as he slides around the corner a little bit. Just gets him off the racing line there too. He's got a little bit on the defensive by the looks. He'll know it's Ryan Wood though behind him. I'm sure Wood's not going to put him in any danger of going off track, being teammates out there from the Premier Racing team. It's given James Scott though a little bit of a reprieve there as the gap goes back out to a steady 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, that will close down again, but it's always difficult being the effective meat in the sandwich there, and Shepherd doing a really good job just holding up. We know that teammates aren't going to want to scrabble, because the last thing you want to do is take out your teammates. So those two just working together, and as we were saying that last lap, Woods just hanging in close enough to pick up the crumbs should something eventuate, but he's not trying to get in Shepherd's way here and allow him full opportunity to close in on and attack James Scott.
Good under brakes there too, Corey Shepherd. He did close that gap up a little bit, and looks like he's holding on to it. It's only hundredths of a second really he's closed that gap, but very good under brakes in the Ford Mustang. They've got that set up, that turn number 1. That is probably key, especially if you want to take, when you get your opportunity to overtake, you really want to be set up going into turn number 1, and probably it is turn number 4 off that back straight as well.
Yeah, definitely. If you maintain that flow and get the grip through it, and we're seeing these guys work their way through. Shepherd maybe has just a little more front grip, as you're saying there, Matt, just to get that nose in. But looking at Scott just flowing those laps through and looking pretty comfortable at the moment. I know the gap's coming down, but he's just holding station quite nicely.
Briggs up on screen. I was just trying to see who that was in the background. He's gone off, moving back, just going off track in the background. But yeah, Briggs is currently sitting in 8th position in simrigs.com Ford Mustang there, putting a bit of pressure on Hobson though, who's in 7th. He's right up under that back wing, trying to unsettle that aero a little bit, I think. See if we can get a bit of a run there and get him under brakes. Just having a look though as they come around. Looks like they're coming back around onto the main straight there through 13 onto 14. They're going to be under full power here though as they go up the hill, cut this corner here. You'll see the entry to pit lane come up very, very fast now as they go around this corner. Turn 14 it is. Imagine someone trying to pull in pits in front of you there, like jamming the brakes on. Would be, pretty scary to watch, fellas.
The good thing is they're not jamming on the brakes at that exact point. They are pulling off on that line, but not jamming on the brakes till further up the pit lane. So a little bit of reprieve, but still a scary bit of circuit.
I imagine if you just clip that inside wall there, how much would that throw you out? Like push you out onto the concrete barrier on the other side?
Well, I mean, you think back to some of the real-life racing we've seen here, especially Formula 1 or WEC. I mean, we saw that massive crash, might have been 2006 for Alonso and Webber in the Jaguar. And then a little bit later in the WEC, Webber had that huge crash in the LMP1 car around there. So, those spots very, very tough for them. And adding to that, when you get into sim racing, especially with how close these guys are, that would present a massive wreck should those guys find the wall.
It's a challenging circuit, like we were talking about the elevation before. There's 43 metres difference in elevation across the entire track. And you can see it here as they go up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill. And, very hard in the setups of these cars. They're putting a lot of load on some of those tyres, depending how hard they want to set them up. But I reckon there's going to be a fair bit of tyre wear on this track.
Yeah, it generally has a lot of wear. So we will see all the guys take that one tyre set as they come through the lane. It's a good opportunity here for Briggs. He's got the nose right in under Hobson. As they work their way through, he's going to lose it and just drop back just a fraction as they come through. We'll see whether he's able to make anything of it as Hobson fires straight into the lane there. So just talking about that entrance to the pit lane there, not too bad basically at high speed there from what we've seen.
You get a little bit of time there to notice that the person in front's moving in. I mean, looks like Hobson there just held his line and it was good, but Briggs now moves himself up into 7th position as they move around on track. People starting to take their pit stops now, though. It'd be interesting to see whether Shepherd will try and get in early. Shepherd and Wood, maybe they'll get in before Scott, or whether they're going to wait and see what James does and just hold on to that position, keep the pressure on him out in front as they've got that back down to 0.3 of a second now, the gap between 1 and 2. As we stay on Brigzo and simrigs.com, as we move back to our battle at the front here, our leaders, Corey Shepherd there in 2nd position, and he is driving hard in that car, isn't it? It just looks like the back isn't quite as tight, though. It looks like you say, he's got a lot of front end grip in that car.
Yeah, a little bit of a trait that we've traditionally seen from his driving. He's a little bit more loose in getting the most out of that car. It works for him. I mean, you don't change something that you don't fix what ain't broke. So he's pushing on nicely here. I think for the pit stop strategies, you'd be while coming in early would be a good opportunity. You've got a lot of traffic behind you that you're going to filter back into potentially. We're only seeing total transit pit stop times of around 35 seconds. That's going to put you right in the mix of everyone.
Yeah, well, they've opened up a little bit of a gap now, haven't they, the top 3? So you would think that maybe they can get in and they would come out in some clean air and give them a bit of a chance. But I don't think that position 4 and 5, they have not pitted yet either, just having a look up on screen. So the first one I can see that's actually come down pit lane would look like it's probably Cameron Veacock, is it, an 18th? I'm just having a look at the timer screen as it moves around on me a bit. Of course, that's going to be great to follow. But so yeah, I mean, if you come in now, you might end up back out in traffic for a couple of laps. Do you take the risk now, or do you stay out in that clean air in front and watch what everyone else is doing behind you?
Cameron Veacock is the first of the pitters who have been through the lane.
I think based on that, you're probably going to hang out as long as possible, run these tanks down super dry, come through, get that fresh rubber, low fuel to complete this race out. I mean, pace between these top 3, absolutely matching mirror for mirror, like there's nothing between them. We might see Woods potentially look at sticking his nose in. I wonder if there'll be a little bit of a team change to see whether these two can get their way through. Not sure on that one, but it is allowing Scott now just a handful of tenths to try and extend that gap.
Shepherd just looked like he was covering the corner a little bit that time going around.
That's really interesting too to see that. I'm surprised that those two are still scrapping it out as much as they are, but a little bit of team rivalry never will hurt anyone. As you see Adam Briggs now back out after his pit stop. And, he's got McNamara ahead of him and a lot of damage down that right-hand side of the Mustang.
Showing a few scars down that side, isn't it, down the driver's side? Be interested to see what's happened there. Looks like he's come and brushed with another car, I'd say. It doesn't look like a wall scrape or anything like that. I'd expect to see a bit more damage or maybe some steering input issues, but looks like maybe just rubbing some livery with someone else at the moment as Briggs stays there in 15th position at the moment. Like you say, just in front of him though is McNamara, so he's in 16th position, and behind him Hobson. So that says they went through the pit, so does that mean Briggs has pitted and come in front of Hobson now?
Yes.
Just trying to have a look at the pit times there to see whether he took a shorter pit stop on that one. Is that what happened, Norrie?
Yeah, it looks like a shorter time from Briggs.
Well, he was right on the back of Hobson before, wasn't he? It wasn't going to take much to get past him, and he definitely had the pace there if they'd had a couple more laps out there behind each other with for Briggs to get past. It looks like now he's coming up on McNamara there in front of him. I'm just having a look up on the track map, and you can see we're still all on the same lap out there at the moment. Of course, there's lap 17. We are halfway through this race. This is round number 1 here. As the move gets done, Briggs gets under McNamara here as he turns in, and looks like he's easily going to get that one and hold on to that position as we head back up to our leaders at the top. These are our top 3 here. Scott still leading this race over Corey Shepherd and Ryan Wood. And we have been watching, though, the little battle happening between Shepherd and Wood in the background. I don't think Wood's been putting too much pressure on, but we noticed Shepherd just, especially through those back S's, of just a little bit defensive covering the line.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, like I was saying, these guys still not giving an inch here, especially the teammates, but just holding in enough to keep James Scott honest. They are going to have to be cautious, though. You just saw in the bottom of frame there, some lap traffic starting to show its head just ahead of these guys, so that's something that'll definitely play into their mind. So it might be the Pedersen Sports Car, Greg Sharp, Sebastian Flock, and Luke Harding down through 30th to 32nd. So definitely not going to want to catch that train of cars while this battle is as tight as it is. So we might even see these guys maybe jump first to see who's going to come in the lane this time by.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Dan, that I think that once they see those lap cars in front, it's going to be a strategic decision they're going to have to make. Do they come in now and make it happen? I think you're going to see a lot of the field start to come in now as we go into the second half of this race. Norrie, how many laps will they actually get out of a tank of fuel? Is it 25 still if they've taken full fuel on at the start of the race?
Yeah, full fuel at the start of the race would have given them 25 laps. And they could have stopped from about lap 5 onwards. So these guys are running it really dry at the end here. And they're going to go for a light fuel load, fresh tyres, and try and blitz some good times. I'm just waiting to see that first car pull down on the lane because I bet they'll follow each other. Oh, no, Corey Shepherd stays out. That was a fine line.
I think he had to think about it then, didn't he? I think, was he just following Scott, I think? I don't know if he intended on coming in. He was just following Scott's line and had to think twice about that. That would have been disastrous if he'd clipped that inner wall there, especially head on. So Corey Shepherd now takes the lead of this race as Scott pulls in for the first pit stop. And we also noticed that behind him went in, obviously, Todd as well. So, you know, like that's, Ryan Woods. So Ryan Woods followed Scott into the pit lane. Interesting there whether they'll get out in front of Shepherd when he comes in.
Well, that's a really good opportunity now for Shepherd to set some good laps. He's been cooped up behind Scott for the entirety of this race so far. Hasn't had to use the car a lot, so hopefully he's got a little bit of tyre life left in it. He might have a good opportunity here to set 1 or 2 quick laps. Maybe that's all he needs to extend and jump in front of James Scott. We'll wait and see. He's got that lap traffic still out in front that he's going to have to be cautious of. And, our former race leader and third place back out on circuit, back down in that 4th and 5th position.
It'll be interesting to see if Shepherd's actually saved some fuel by being cooped up behind James. Let's see if he takes a shorter pit stop when he does pit.
Yeah, that's a good point that Norrie does make there. By saving that fuel, yeah, he can do a little bit of a dash, save a little bit of time there on the refuel, as he still has a little bit of a gap there to the lap cars as they come around. Up on screen at the moment, Bradley Vaughn, though, in the Pursuit Sim Racing team. He's done a fair bit of sim racing now. Of course, he loves having the big 100 on the front there. as they come around. It looks like in the pit lane is Shepherd. Is that is Shepherd? Yes, he has gone in the pit lane. That's it's going to be interesting when he comes out to exit. So we'll watch that further on as we go around. Vaughn though under a fair bit of pressure there. He just got past Glenn Morris there, made the move done. Let's see if he can make that stick, as Morris now looks like he's going to be under a bit of pressure from Sean McNamara as well for that 16th position.
Yeah, just watching the pit lanes go through. James Scott gets back in front actually very, very comfortably as well. I'm surprised that Shepherd was stationary for as long as he was. A little bit, no, it was actually a second longest pit stop time for him. So they've dropped a huge amount of time now off the back of Scott. That gap, 2.5 seconds from what was 5 tenths.
This leaves Shepherd vulnerable to Ryan Wood behind, because that gap has opened up as well.
I think that's the team maybe making a wrong estimate there, because they both pitted for quite a long time compared to James Scott, really, because Scott's opened up a gap on both of them. They've pretty much come back out where they were.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking at the pit stop times for both of those cars, we saw Corey Shepherd stationary just over 16.03 seconds, Ryan Wood 16.25. So those guys around a second longer than what we saw from James Scott. He was only stationary there for the 15.2 second pit stop time, and you know, tenths around here are margin, so he's gained a fair amount of time. Very light fuel, no doubt, in that car, and he's got now 2.8 seconds to play with.
That'll give him the opportunity maybe to coast coming to the corners, short shifted a bit, just with a little bit of breathing space. Maybe they'll come up. They haven't really got any lap traffic to come up on either contenders, so they're going to be pretty fast, I'd say, in race paces. We're checking out now. It looks like Glenn Morris on screen. He's still under a bit of attack there from McNamara. McNamara can't get the job done, but behind McNamara is Mascot. Mascot is putting the pressure on big time.
Yeah, been a really good drive here so far from Mascot. Up 14 spots from where he started. He's got Sean McNamara just ahead, another 12 spots gained for him. And Glenn Morris, we just mentioned just before as well, 21 spots up, so some huge gainers throughout the midfield here. And this is a really tightly contested 4-car train. These guys work their way up towards the front for another lap.
Yeah, Keane just off the back of him too, and Maguire as well. So this is the battle there. You can see Mascot there currently in 21st position. It's Morris just out in front, so it's really a long lineup there. Any little mistake there from Morris, and I think we're going to see 2 or 3 cars. Under brakes here though, as he puts the pressure on. Mascot puts the nose in, he goes wide. McNamara gives him room, but McNamara gets the run there, and of course that right-hand turn, they gives him the advantage. He turns down. I thought that maybe Keane was going to put the nose in there on Mascot as well, take advantage of this one. The person who's got the most run out of this, though, looks like Morris now has a little bit of a reprieve there and has opened up a little bit of a gap, give him some breathing room.
Yeah, definitely. And that's always the issue there. You go in for a dive in through one. If you can't make it stick, it does leave you very, very vulnerable for that car behind. And we see Mascot have another dive down into 4, leaving a bit of a room there for Keane to try and come through. Now Keane's going to have to be cautious as well, because he's got Troy Maguire right behind in the Type N Esports car as well. So this actually, we're up to 6 cars in this battle now. Not much separating all of them at all. Actually 5, sorry.
Scored super aggressive there. He's got that front splitter right up on the back bar though. He's pushing him round, just trying to say to McNamara, please give us another spin out there though. It looks like he turns around for Morris. That's devastating. No one even there to touch him. I know the guys are close, but not close enough to make contact. So it's good that no one has made any contact through as they go through the corner as well.
Yeah, just fortunate there that no one, that when you come into that corner, obviously the trajectory and the speed's going to push you out wide, so everyone was able just to keep that braking line and not lose too much. But it has opened up that little gap now, so that Mascot right in position again. We'll see whether he just sticks the nose up the inside. He's right in front, spot down into turn 1. He's going to get it done very easy. Down under brakes, bit of a lock up as he tips it into turn 1. Runs it wide, and that's going to open the door again for McNamara to come back through. Keane has closed in as well in that the Simrix.com car, and he's brought alongside him Troy Maguire as well.
Yeah, nice little battle it is here, isn't it, really, for 19th position. I think Keane's just sitting on the back there. It's just going to take one little movement there. Mascot looked a little bit faster than McNamara earlier on. He was so aggressive behind him now. Now he can get back to his normal race line and hopefully he can open that gap up. Just having a look back up the front, and we said it was over 2 seconds between Scott and Shepherd earlier. That is already back down to 1.6 seconds. So Shepherd starting to put some lap times together.
Definitely, and I think that was helped too. James Scott had a bit of a shocker lap that last time by. It was 1:34. So not sure whether he had a little moment somewhere along the circuit there, but that was nearly half of his advantage wiped away in one lap.
Here we go now. It's Freer and Briggs down the main straight there, and looks like under brake's going to get it done too. As Briggs moves, sorry, on Hobson, is it? No, sorry, Freer is ahead. Yeah, it was Briggs just behind. So Freer has gone in front of Briggs there, moved up into 5th position, so a nice little move done, and we were looking at that delivery a bit earlier too. I do love the purple on that thing.
Speaking of purple, just looking at the timing boards, Ryan Wood in P3 has put in a purple sector 3, so he's moving along trying to close that gap to Corey Shepherd.
As we bring him up, we give him the camera curse there. You can see him hard on the brakes, and the back there a little bit loose coming out of that, but loose can be fast as they drive it out there a little bit sideways too now. As they turn around, it looks like turn 10, it was coming out of 9 there. So these guys pushing hard at the moment to close that gap to James Scott. The teammates, can they make it happen? Premier Racing Team, they've got 2 cars in the top 3. The only person stopping them, getting the number 1, is our 2-time reigning champion, James Scott, in the Logitech G Autos eSport Holden Commodore.
Further back, Jacob Knight getting into a good battle. He's got Neil Pearson, Jordan Ross right in front of him. This is a battle for 10th position, and not much to bring either of these guys. We've seen Knight come up 10 spots from where he qualified. So it's been an outstanding run in that EXG Motorsports car tonight. We'll see whether he's able to get a run down through the front straight here. He's going to be in a good spot against Neil Pearson. This could be similar to what we saw only a few laps ago from McNamara down the inside, but very good pace so far from that car for Neil Pearson.
Yeah, so Knight just hanging off the back, like you say. Pearson in the middle there. Oh no, Knight puts a bit of a move on. Can he get it done? Doesn't look like he will. So James Scott still up the front of this race as we are on board now with Neil Pearson, having a look at him getting around in the Ford Mustang. It's a little group there, just holding together. Just trying to see whether it is at the back there. Knight can't make it happen. It looks like Pearson maybe a bit of a reprieve there. No, Knight's back up on the back of him now in the Commodore. He's just there, slowing him down a little bit though, I think, because Ross out in front's taking the advantage. He opened up a little bit of a gap. Wow, there you go. Early turn in there you can see for Pearson compared to Ross's driving line. But Ross with the drive here, the nose goes down. Oh, is he going to make it stick without contact? Not quite sure if he made contact there, but now the left-hander. Looks like Pearson's going to get the advantage. Knight has to relinquish that position again as they head back up to the back S's.
Yeah, a little bit of contact between those two as we see Knight drive it down the inside there. He's struggling just a touch now, just with that rear grip, trying to get through that second hairpin. We'll see whether he's able to do it. The gap at our leaders still continuing to come down for Scott as well, down under 1 second again. So the last 2 laps were very, very costly from him there. He's lost 2.8 seconds in 2 laps. So a lot of work for him to do to try and come back. I don't know whether that's just part of maybe saving the fuel that he needs to get it home, because we know last season he did have, did try and run it as lean as possible at the end. Could be just trying to get that car back. Further down, some good battles, 4th and 5th, still starting to stack up now with Freer and Adam Briggs, who has climbed up quite nicely. And then again in 6th and 7th, 7th and 8th, with Hobson and Freed getting back into it as well.
While you're talking there, just had Jacob Knight on the radio saying sorry, Neil. So he wants this position, he wants to get it done, but he wants it fair.
Well, it's good to see a bit of race etiquette happening out there on tracks. You see all the rubber up the side of the simrigs.com of Pearson's car. A little bit of dirt up there, but Knight doing everything he can. He put a lot of pressure on earlier. It looks like he's just backed off for a lap. Reset himself, get in position, try and get that run, maybe get under the aero of their back wings. Check out a replay up on screen here. This is Knight down the inside.
I've got the 2 teammates here, Sharp and Gaffer for Coda Sim Sports. A little bit of a driver change as they work their way through. And I don't think there's any contact on either of those 2 cars, but well down the order down there in 30th and 31st positions respectively.
So lap 26 here of 34, as you see Neil Pearson and obviously Knight up on screen again. So Hoffman here with all the pressure on the Briggs now. This is a replay. We check it out. It looks like he's got down to turn number 1 hard on brakes and gets the job done there. Puts the nose in, and Briggs just moves over, gives him a bit of room. Maybe looking for the crossover there to see if he can get it done, but Hobson comes down the defensive line and makes that move stick.
Yeah, Hobson's been around the traps long enough to be awake to that move and just covers it off quite nicely. We'll see whether there was any attempt to run down and through 4. Briggs was right up on the back of him. Didn't think about pushing through that one that time by, but it was a nice move for Hobson through 1.
So we head back and go live again. Back on here with Pearson there, with Knight still behind. He just quite can't get it done. Pearson just has to come across the line a little bit. It'll be a little bit defensive there. Knight just going a little bit wider, trying to find that drive there as they head back up the hill there, up to turn 10. Go on board, you see how close it is. Oh, he's come in underneath. Maybe Pearson has just cooked that corner a little bit, gone a little bit too wide there. Knight couldn't take advantage of it though completely. See how wide he's going there, isn't he? Trying to get as much drive coming out of that corner.
Absolutely, using all the track and then some to come through. Pearson's got some very good drive still in that car. He's able to extend that gap quite nicely through that second to last corner.
I wonder how they got some of the setup coming down the straight. Maybe give him the extra bit more speed there for Knight. No, what are your thoughts on this battle?
I was going to say in the pre-show that we spoke about that turn there at turn 1 and this upcoming corner being the prime overtaking spots. Interesting to see. It feels like Jacob Knight's on the actual limiter, but we'll have to see if we can get an onboard shot next time past. But yeah, he needs to close that gap because I know he wants the position, but he needs to be a lot closer to make it happen.
Maybe he's used up a bit of his tyre there too for Knight because he seems to be dropping off a little bit. Pearson's just opened that gap up a little bit more now, so maybe Knight has used up as much tyre as possible, or been using a bit too much fuel there, trying to make the move stick. Ross is still just out in front of Pearson though. That gap's still there, just steady at the moment. Having a look back up the top though, James Scott now is under pressure from Corey Shepherd because we're only 0.4 of a second. It's just gone out to half a second, but back to where they were prior to the pit stops there, around the 0.4 of a second gap, and they've just got a little bit of a gap up on Wood, who is in 3rd position. So he is back probably about another 6 to 7 tenths of a second. So the top 3 are going to battle it out in the last few laps of this race. We're on lap 28 of 34. As we get back on board now with Knives, let's see if he gets that limiter, Norrie, as they come around to go onto the main straight.
See those red flashing lights on the top of his dash? That is him at max throttle and full revs. That's not fuel saving. He's out of breath at the top of that hill.
Yeah, interesting that maybe it's the diff ratio they've chosen on this one. Is that set here in this racing, or they get to choose their own diff ratio?
They get to choose their own diff ratio, but it looks like they've chosen the wrong one in that EXG car.
Oh, loose there for James Scott there. You can see that the car starting to slide around a little bit now. He got an extra lap on Shepherd on those tyres. It was only one extra lap, wasn't it? Shepherd came in the lap after, so shouldn't be too much difference in tyre wear. We know Scott though got the undercut there. Was a little bit quicker in the pit stop. Opened up a 2.5 second lead there once they went back to their positions after both of them had pit stop. But now Shepherd all the way back up there, under 0.4 of a second behind Scott. They come round. They're going to put the foot to the firewall now and hold it flat around here. Let's see if he can close that gap. It's going to be a big dive. I think he's too far back to take the dive on the brakes, but he's going to do the show there in the side mirrors and let him know he's there.
Yeah, he closes in massively under brakes. We always expect that little bit of accordion effect as they work their way through, but Shepherd at the moment looking very, very handy in this car. I'm still wondering whether Scott is just trying to save that last little bit of fuel that he needs to do in order to get that car home, or whether we're able to start extending his advantage afterwards. But at the moment, Shepherd is all over him like a rash and trying to look for any opportunity to get through.
Yeah, I wonder how much closer he'd be if that pit stop wasn't bungled for Shepherd.
Well, great onboards there. I think maybe he needed the fuel. Like you say, James Scott, I think he's saving. It'd be interesting to have a chat with him after this race to find exactly what's going on there. But a lot of steering input there, I noticed, for Shepherd going in under brakes. So pushing very, very hard, and looks like Ryan Wood's taking a big advantage out of this because he was still half a second back. Now there is nothing in it. Closed it right up. So the teammates need to work together on this one if they want to try and get James Scott and relegate him back to third on the podium at the moment. He's still leading him. They've still got to get the job done there. As you see, the opposite angle there on the front wheels there as they have to oversteer that out of the corner.
Yeah, Shepherd really just trying to get back to the throttle as quick as possible. It did cost him just a margin of a tenth of a second, but he's able to come back through quite nicely. That grip that we're seeing from Scott at the moment still quite handy over that final corner. He's able to gain a little bit of an advantage, which is just enough to keep the nose of that car ahead. Look for this gap to close down as we continue looking back at that car. Down to 3/10 at the high speed spot on the circuit, and down to 2/10 as we get into that braking zone.
Move back down in the pack here, and at 29th it's Holland getting around in the simrigs.com Ford Mustang. Behind him is Sharp and Gaffer. Just a nice little distance between them at the moment. Enough there they could take the opportunity. Goes wide there. We give him the camera curse. Sharp's going to get an advantage here. Can he make it count for him as he gets right up under that spoiler at the back? Also, I see Gaffer there closes the gap down a little bit as well. Check out the replay. We go back one lap now. Dan, take us through it.
Have a look here. The guys working their way down through that back straight. Sharp with a bit of a move down the inside. He gets that car through quite nicely down the inside. Then gets a little bit of a serve for his trouble coming through and almost loses a spot to his teammate. He got a little bit of side by side there. So that's a little bit of a fight there for Holland. He did nothing wrong in that situation. Had to turn the car in at some point and just a little bit of a bump and run. So we'll see what Sharp's able to do as we return back to the live photo pictures here. Sharp's going to have a big run down into turn one. Not sure if he's close enough at this point, but he is still dragging his teammate along for the ride.
Yeah, very defensive there for Holland there. He comes down very about halfway down the track there to make sure that move can't get done under brake. So he knows he's under pressure. He's under attack at the moment from Sharp and Gaffer, the teammates. Gaffer, though, is dropped back again. So it's only Sharp really putting the pressure on at the moment here. This is for position number 29. So the battle's still going on down the pack. Just having a look at the times up there, I noticed that James Scott was out just past 0.3 of a second. Now it's back under 3. So at the front, it's still all happening there between, obviously, James Scott, Corey Shepherd, and Ryan Wood. So the top three battling it out. As we go to Briggs in 7th now in the simrigs.com Ford Mustang. Of course, it's the Jinx shifters, round number 1 here at the moment for the Australian Online Supercar Championship, and we have only got 3 laps left in this race. Lap 31 or 34 at the moment. Wow, it's going to go right down to the wire, Dan.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a custom of what we've seen for this championship for quite a few seasons now. There's absolutely nothing separating these guys out on circuit, and again, we're seeing it tonight. I mean, the top 3 did clear out to a very handy 13 seconds up the road from our 4th place driver there in Tom Freer. But for the rest of the field, we've found some really good battles up and down. As we have a look here, Bailey Frid and Brian Borg going at it for that 8th position. Borg had a very good run through qualifying and has gained 9 spots so far throughout the course of the run tonight. So this has been a really good run for him. And he's also got his 2 teammates currently vying for that top step off the podium, Shepherd and Woods.
I don't want to put the commentator's curse on it, but how good is it to see 2 other competitors up there with James Scott making that leap of speed for this season, season 10, and Premier's really stepped up, so massive congratulations to those guys.
They've got a couple of laps left to do it still, though. Someone's going to have to take the risk. I think Shepherd's going to have to take the dive. That's my personal opinion. I think Shepherd's going to have to make a move in the next couple of laps. He knows he's got the pace at the moment over James Scott. Has Scott saved enough fuel? That's the question. That's what we believe, is that he's saving fuel because he took the dash of fuel really when he came into the pit stop. But if Shepherd doesn't get the move done cleanly, Wood is going to be there to clean that up. So the Premier Racing team are in a prime spot to get on that number 1 position on the podium.
Absolutely, and just looking at Scott here, just moving that car over just a fraction to try and hold him off. He's going to make him go the long way around though. Like, keep that on the racing line, keep that momentum up. Just makes it that little bit harder here for Shepherd to try and work his way through.
Wonder if we can get an onboard for James Scott at the end of the straight, see if he's lifting and coasting, or see if he's max tilt.
Oh, the nose goes in there for Shepherd. He takes a look, doesn't he? He doesn't quite get it done though. Scott didn't come down on him too much though. He kept the racing line there. Shepherd just didn't quite have the pace and decided that it wasn't worth the risk there and didn't want to make any contact. So he's had to drop back a little bit now, as there'll be a little bit of a gap there. You can see it just opened up there for James Scott. So a bit of a reprieve there from that corner as they head back onto the main straight now, and it is full throttle. And like you say, be interesting to see whether Scott is lifting at the end of this one. I don't think he'd be able to into turn number 1, because that is a prime overtaking spot as a flash of the lights. Just trying to see if that's the cars up in front, letting them know he's coming through.
Yeah, he's got the lap car there, Rob Harris. Well, not lap down yet, but he's got Rob Harris just ahead of him, going 33rd position. So he's going to just want to let him know that the quick guys are coming through. No doubt Rob will be all over the relative boxes to check who's around him. But these guys are going to scrap it out here as we see lap and a half to go. Shepherd fallen off just a little bit through turns 1 and 2, which is a little bit of a surprise. Hopefully he hasn't used those tyres up yet. He's got just that little bit left in the tank for one final charge at the last lap.
Scott using a lot of curb too, isn't he, on some of these corners? He is just trying to be as smooth as possible. As you can see, sliding the car, Shepherd sideways there, just gets up on the ripple strip. But mate, this car is sliding around, pushing everything there. Oversteer again. Maybe, like you say, he's used up a lot of those tyres, trying to keep the pressure on Scott here at the front. He's going to have to get a good run though if he can make it happen, as Scott's very defensive there, comes down, takes the inside racing line there. Not making it easy for Shepherd. You don't want to give up that first position. It's round number 1 here, season 10. You want to kick things off. He's defending champion. He's done it 2 seasons in a row. He wants to start off. He wants to start off and see if he can make it 3 in a row in this season. And the best way to start that off is with a win here at Interlagos in Brazil. As we're coming around, we are almost on the final lap, last corner. We're coming down the main straight. It's the final lap, and it's Corey Shepherd in second position. The Premier Racing team all over the back of Scott. Look how defensive he is on the inside there. Shepherd goes around the outside. Scott's going to be hard under brakes. He locks the wheel up too. He goes wide. Can Shepherd... Oh no, he's got on the right racing line for Scott too. Has he got anything left in the tank? No, that's the question. Is there any fuel left in that car?
There'll be enough, I think.
Is it going to be a Win Cup moment? Will he be pushing the car? Can he virtually get out of the car and push it?
That is a negative. We don't have that facility.
Well, bang it on the starter, get it home on the starter is all you got to do. So no doubt they'll do it. Scott doing absolutely everything to make this as tough as possible for Shepherd, who'd already defensive down through 1 and 2. Have gathered it up and held it through 4. This is a fantastic run. And,
what do you do if you're Ryan Wood right now and you're going, guys, look, if you want to rub panels, I'm willing to take that podium. I'm willing to go to number 1.
But you just keep going. You keep an eye on what's ahead. Keep your foot to the metal and see if you can just pick up those crumbs as they come through. But these two are absolutely inseparable. And other than that little bit of a gap we saw after the pit stops, there's been nothing separating them. They work their way through almost to the second to last corner of the race.
Looks like they're going back up the hill. That's turn 10 now, 12 as they go around. We're in the final stages here of round 1. It's race 1, 179 in the AOSC history. Here we go. We come around the last bend, 14. Little kink into 15, but here we are. The big race on. Corey Shepherd, can he get the pace? Scott, though, comes over on the inside. He's doing everything defensively. And Scott will get the win by 41 thousandths of a second. So Scott manages to be defensive. We'll see what race control say about that, because he was covering every line. But 41 thousandths of a second over Corey Shepherd. Ryan Wood right behind him, nothing in it. What a way to kick off round number 1 here and race 179.
That was a fantastic way to finish it. I would love to see the photo finish as those two cars came across the line at the very end there. The battle's still continuing further down the field. Pearson just gets home against Knight. That fight scrapped on for a long time. Taliantich ahead of his teammate in Stovald for 13th and 14th for the two Pursuit Sim Racing cars. Dyke gets his Fishy Motorsports car home back in 15th. So good run for him there and gaining some valuable points to kick off the championship.
Vaughn in 16th gets the checkered flag. I think he's a newcomer to the series. I have seen him in some E-series before. Harrison in 17th, Johnson in 18th, Anspash in 19th, Mascord in 20th. That's where he ends up with Keane behind him in 21st. McNamara back to 22nd, Maguire 23rd, Veacock 24th, McKenzie in 25th, Morris now in 26th. Just takes the checkered flag, and that'll be Heathershield as well. We'll get through. Carpenter gets the checkered flag as they come across now. Holland. Well, he goes through nicely. Here we go. The battle's on. Well, who's going to be? It's going to be the teammates, Holland, Gaffer, Sharp. So Sharp ends up relinquishing that position to Gaffer right at the end of the race. Flock, Harris, there it is for 32nd, 34th. Barnett in 34th, as you can see there as they go through. So up on our timing screens, then it's going to be Christian Smart in 35th. Dylan Rudd, Brett Loxton, Kobe Jones, Aaron Dodd, Andrew Dyson and Griffith Gardner. Unfortunately, we did not see all of them finish the race. So one of the other big talking points really is Griffith Gardner was up there on the front row alongside James Scott. He qualified second and he had a power outage. It didn't start the race.
Yeah, really unfortunate there for what was a fantastic qualifying and first time we've seen him in the series for quite a few seasons.
Our results once again as we bring them up on screen here for round number 1. It was James Scott's by 41 thousandths of a second over Corey Shepherd. Then it's Ryan Wood in 3rd, Tom Freer in 4th, Kyle Stokes in 5th, Brenton Hobson in 6th, Adam Briggs in 7th, Bailey Frid in 8th, Brian Borg, Jordan Ross rounds out our top 10, Neil Pearson 11, Jacob Knight 12, 13th is Michael Telejanic. I'm going to get that wrong all season, guys. You're going to get me through that one. 14th is Jamie Stovold. Jamie Dyke in 15th. Bradley Vaughn in 16th. Hayden Harris in 17th. And 18th is Damien Johnston. As we roll through the screens, 19 it will be. We will end up with Craig Anspach. When our screen rolls over, there we go. Craig Anspach coming out in 19th. Matty Mascord, obviously, in 20th. Reece Keane in 21st. Sean McNamara in 22nd. Troy Maguire in 23rd, Cameron Veacock in 24th, Darren McKenzie, Glenn Morris, Simon Heathershield, Dale Carpenter, Luke Holland, Tony Gaff, and Greg Sharp had a bit of a battle with the teammates there for 30th position because we saw Sharp in front of Gaff earlier, but Gaffer managed to get through. So Sebastian Flock in 32, Rob Harris in 33, Logan Barnett in 34, Christian Smart is, I think, the first of the ones that did not finish there as I look on my other timing screen. So, mate, what a way to kick things off when it comes down to 41 thousandths of a second. Daniel Lee, Matthew Norris, what are your conclusions in round number 1?
Oh, mate, that was a great way to kick off the start of season 10. I mean, absolutely fantastic way. It keeps on going from what we saw from race number 1, the end of last season for season 9. It's only going to get better, and I cannot wait to see what these guys are going to bring coming forward.
I think it shows the Premier Racing team there, Norrie, have a lot to offer in this one because they're already putting the pressure on James Scott.
Oh boy, howdy they do. Premier Racing team have definitely stepped up. I'm so happy to see Corey Shepherd and Ryan Wood have jumped up and they're there with James Scott. Let's not discount Synergy though. Synergy had 4 cars following that train home. So they're up there as well. Weren't right up in the battle tonight, but definitely fast. And it just shows the caliber of driver from Season 9 is carried over into Season 10. And we're in for a damn good show this season.
Oh, mate, it is going to be a fantastic Season 10 already as James Scott there kicks things off in his title defence. Can he make it through on the trot? It's going to be a big one here, but we're going to bring him in and have a chat with him, I do believe. Oh, here we go. James Scott, you've joined us here in the commentary booth, mate. That was an exciting. That went right down to, well, you've only won by 41 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, that was, well, first off, congratulations to Corey and Ryan. They put in a really good race. For my race, that was very rusty. I'm not happy at all with that. Some reason I've had a lap short on fuel, which probably explains why I got a bit of a jump on Ryan in the pits. So pretty much the last stint I was just trying to fuel save.
Yeah, well, that was a talk here in the commentary booth. We did think maybe. Are you worried about what they've brought back, the Premier Racing team?
Yeah, I always knew those guys were going to be strong. I think I could be wrong. and sorry if I am, but I think this is Ryan's first race in the series, and I haven't really raced him before, so I knew he was going to be fast. But yeah, he'll be definitely someone to keep an eye out on as well.
Forward to round number 2 now.
Yes, I am. To be honest, I don't quite know where we're racing. Sort of just take it one week at a time. But
Road America, mate, 300 kilometres. So we're going to double the distance on you.
yeah, Road America's. We've done plenty of racing there lately. I think the official series was there just a few weeks ago. So we should be able to get a setup going. I don't go all that well there either, but hopefully we can get a setup sorted and see what we can do.
Yeah, it was fantastic to watch tonight. I tell you what, that battle in the last couple of laps, we thought that Corey had you on a couple of corners, but you managed to block him off there, I suppose. Not block him, but keep that defensive line and keep it exciting all the way to the end. Congratulations on the win. Round number 1, you're defending title champion, so good luck next week, and we hope it's just as close.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me, and thanks to obviously all our partners at Logitech. With Logitech G, Astro Gaming, Cube Controls, Own 3D, and Race Tech Seats. And you guys are putting on a great broadcast, and all the guys behind the scenes at AOSC.
All right, let's grab our second place getter, and it was so close over the finish line. Corey, you've joined us in the commentary box. Mate, you almost got there. So close.
We got much closer. That was an awesome race.
Yeah, we were just talking with him before, and he didn't take on enough fuel there. So he opened up that gap after the pit stop, but you almost had him on a couple of corners. We were holding our breath through the last couple of laps.
Yeah, I realised he was sort of short on fuel after he got a big margin coming out of the pits, and then I just knew I had to push, get back in the draft, and have as many cracks as I could. And yeah, got pretty close.
We noticed the car skating around a bit in the last couple of laps. Is that just tyre wear or just the setup you had on the car?
Yeah, tyre wear, and I was pushing a lot more. Really wanted to make a move and make it stick. So yeah.
Well, you've definitely come out fighting in round number 1 of the season, and your name's up there in bright lights. You're second on the podium. Do you need to thank some people?
Yeah, all the guys at Premier Racing Team had an awesome result tonight, and all the hard work we put in behind the scenes really results in results like these. And of course, big thanks to my sponsor, Mr. Antenna.
Yeah, well, second place, mate, it's fantastic really to see you up there in the Premier Racing Team, and we can't wait to get your teammate in here, Ryan Wood, and have a chat with him as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Cheers, guys. See you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. The Road America 300Ks. That's going to be a good race there, and a few more laps if you're in the same situation. You better get it done on James Scott. I'm sure next time he'll be checking all that fuel load and making sure he takes enough on. And we'll grab Ryan Wood and have a chat with him for our third place as we get him into the commentary booth here. Ryan Wood, mate, you're in the most entertaining seat in the house watching that battle in front of you.
Yeah, no, it was a good race with the boys up front. Just sat back and let Corey do his thing. And yeah, pretty happy with the result.
Do you think at any stage that you might get the opportunity to get past both cars at once?
I was thinking on that last lap they might both rub panels and maybe go a bit wide, and I could have scooped through. But no, it was all clean at the front, which is always a good thing. And yeah, we're all battling hard, so it's good.
Yeah, no, it was exciting to watch there, and we were we almost thought you were going to get there. You came right up. You opened up a little bit of a gap there. Your teammate had a little bit over you. Corey Shepherd coming out after the pit stops. You managed to close that down. So very fast setup. How are you liking working with the team, the Premier Racing Team?
Yeah, no, they're a good bunch of guys, and we all get along well. Yeah, just getting used to the V8, and it's good to have someone like Corey that can guide me through it and just help me out when I'm struggling a little bit. And yeah, now the setup's been good, so pretty happy.
How many hours have you been putting into practice this week?
This week, because I haven't had much to do, I did quite a bit, probably about 4. But no, I'm still pretty happy to be hanging with Corey and also with James, so can't complain about that.
Mate, it was a tight finish between all three of you. It was really we couldn't have scripted it much better at all. It was perfect script finish from you three. Congratulations on getting on the podium in round number 1. Can't wait to see you in round number 2 next week.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Well, Dan, Norrie, we heard from the drivers. You're absolutely right. James Scott conserving fuel and only just made it home.
Yeah, a little interesting there that they did have that little mishap with the pit stops there. I mean, we did say that it was very short, and we know that last season, especially Norrie can attest to that, we saw them run that car very, very close to the fuel numbers that they needed just to get home. And a little surprised that they had that little mistake and just had it as short as possible. But what a cracking way to start off the season. Not much in it between our top 3. We've got a new contender out there in Premier Racing Team tonight, who look like they're going to shape up for a very strong season and be able to take it all the way through to James Scott.
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. It was a fantastic race. I mean, I'm still reeling from watching that. I mean, that was fantastic to watch. Premier take a step up. Synergy was there. James Scott defending his crown. That's why he's got 2 of them. And what a season! This is going to be fantastic from Woe to Go.
I can't wait for you guys to catch up with the teams, dissect exactly what's happened, and we're going to catch up this week and go through with our pre-race show for round number 2, because round 2 from the Road America 300-kilometre race. So we'll catch up during the week. The pre-race show, you'll see it come out this week. We had a great time doing it this week. Can't wait to do it again. We can go through all the events of tonight's race. Of course, we need to thank all of our sponsors. Of course, Jinx Shifters, our name and right sponsor here for season number 10 of the Australian Online Supercar Championship. Fantastic products, Aussie made, of course. Don't forget your brake bias and ARB adjusters as well for sim racing through those guys. Race Circuit Art Australia, of course. Sixth Gear Imagery, Sydney Computers, AJ Insurance Services. Don't forget your business insurance brokers. 10% off for AOSC members, so go and check them out. That's AJ Insurance Services. Simrigs.com for everything you want to bolt all your stuff to. Of course, don't forget they've got the steering wheels now, the steering systems and the braking systems as well. And, of course, track cams for gourmets who have provided us with some extra footage and some custom camera angles to bring you all this. Big shout out to Nick in the background. Obviously, a bit of a battle on tonight. There were some issues earlier on, so he's been busy behind the scenes. We need to thank him for putting all the hours in over the last couple of weeks. The in-house production happening now, all Australian made, Australian produced, and it is the Jinx Australian Online Supercar Championship. Guys, that was round number 1. You got anything left to talk about?
No, I'm really looking forward to what we're going to see going into race 2. I mean, you touched on it quickly, just off to Road America for the next one, 300 kilometres to double the event. Very different circuit to what we've seen here tonight at Interlagos, and going to be really interesting to see how the guys tackle that as far as the setups are concerned.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be in for a cracker next round. Road America, like Dan said, very different circuit. So it's actually open. There's some high speed stuff, so it's going to be different from tonight, but let's hope it's just as energetic and just as exciting to watch.
Stay tuned to all of our social media channels. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to AOSC TV on YouTube. We'll bring out the pre-race show during the week. Check that one out. This is all from us here in the commentary box and from the broadcast here at the Jinx Australia Online Supercar Championship. Thanks, Norrie. Thanks, Dan. We'll see you next week.